Before we go any deeper into this darkness, hit subscribe, smash the like button, and drop a comment, because once you hear what happened on that road to Angola, you'll never look at a prison transport the same way again. The story begins at 4:17 a.m., on a stretch of Highway 61 so empty it felt like the world had stopped breathing. Thick fog rolled over the asphalt, swallowing headlights and deadening sound. Sheriff's deputies had already blocked both ends of the mile-long section where the transport van was found abandoned, doors shut, engine running, hazard lights blinking like a heartbeat in cardiac arrest. But there was no driver. No guards. No inmate. Nothing. Just an empty metal box that looked like it had been dropped out of the sky. Detective Marlon Briggs stepped out of his unmarked SUV, the cold biting the edges of his coat. Briggs wasn't a man easily rattled. 20 years on the force had sanded off most of his nerves, but even he felt something off in the air. Something wrong. As if whatever had happened here didn't want to be uncovered. A deputy jogged up to him, breath fogging in the air. "Detective, you're gonna want to see the inside." Briggs approached the rear doors of the van. A forensic tech stood by with a flashlight. When she swung it inside, the light cut across the interior like a scalpel. There were scratch marks, deep ones, scored across the metal bench where the inmate would have been shackled. The restraints lay on the floor, twisted and snapped like someone had deliberately cut them with bolt cutters. But no tools were found. No broken metal pieces. No blood. No signs of a struggle. It was as if the prisoner simply evaporated. "Name?" Briggs asked. The deputy swallowed. "Darrell King. Transfer from West Feliciana lockup to Angola. Armed robbery, assault, resisting. Not exactly a Houdini type." Briggs ran a hand across the snapped restraints. "Nobody snaps a chain like this. Not even a damn powerlifter." The tech cleared her throat. "Detective, that's not the strangest part." She handed him a tablet showing a still frame from the van's interior camera. It captured the inmate, head down, breathing slow, motionless, just minutes before the van was found. But the next frame, time-stamped only 26 seconds later, showed an empty seat. No movement. No struggle. Just gone. 26 seconds. Briggs felt a chill crawl up his spine. "Where's the footage after this?" "That's the thing," the tech said. "It cuts out. Corrupted." "And the guards?" She hesitated. "We can't find them. Not a trace. 2 guards and a medium security inmate missing at the same time. A transport van abandoned with its keys still in the ignition. Chain snapped. Footage corrupted. No witnesses. No sound. No tracks leading away from the scene. Nothing added up. By sunrise, news vans hovered at the blockade line. Reporters shouted questions. Social media feeds erupted with theories: escape, ambush, inside job. People already knew Angola's reputation, one of the toughest prisons in America. But no one had ever heard of a transport van simply disappearing off the map, then reappearing empty in the middle of the road. Briggs moved to the shoulder of the highway, studying the ground. The fog was lifting, revealing tire marks, fresh, chaotic patterns that didn't match the van's tires. They looped around in jagged arcs as if another vehicle had boxed the transport in, but there were no shells, no debris, no signs of forced entry. Then he saw it. A shoe. Just one. A guard's regulation boot, lying on its side in the ditch. But the ground around it was undisturbed. No footprints, no drag marks, nothing showing how it got there. Briggs picked it up carefully. Inside, tucked beneath the insole, was a folded piece of paper. The detective unfolded it with steady hands. 4 words, handwritten in shaky letters. "Don't trust the escort." Briggs stared at the note until his jaw clenched. Whoever wrote this had been terrified. Desperate. Maybe dying. He walked back toward the van slowly, the note still between his fingers. A second deputy ran up to him, breathless. "Detective, you need to see this. Now." Briggs followed him to the front of the transport van. The driver's seat was empty, but the dashboard camera had been pried open. Inside the cavity, where the memory card should have been, someone had placed something else. A metal badge. And not just any badge. One belonging to an officer who had died 6 months earlier. Briggs exhaled slowly. This wasn't an escape. He looked one more time at the snapped restraints, at the looping tire marks in the dirt, at the guard's boot with its desperate message. This was a message. And then the deputy holding the badge said the words that froze everyone in place. "Detective, we just found the crashed escort vehicle. Both guards are still inside." He paused. "And neither one of them is alive." Fog still clung to the treetops when Detective Briggs reached the escort vehicle, an armored SUV turned on its side in a shallow ravine, headlights flickering like dying stars. Deputies formed a perimeter, speaking in hushed, unsettled tones. Briggs didn't need them to explain anything. The vehicle itself told the story. Glass spidered with fractures. The metal crushed inward as if something had forced it off the road, not merely an accident. But it was the stillness that bothered him most. The kind of quiet that didn't feel natural. Inside the overturned SUV, the 2 escort officers remained in their seats, harnesses locked, no visible signs of a struggle, and no signs of blood or impact trauma. They simply looked still, as if they had fallen asleep mid-sentence. Briggs examined their faces, calm, undisturbed, no bruises or broken bones, no panic in their final moments. Whatever happened here hadn't been violent. It had been precise. Calculated. The coroner knelt beside one of the bodies and whispered to Briggs. "They didn't die from the crash. No blunt force trauma. No internal injuries. It's like their bodies just stopped." Briggs narrowed his eyes. "Stopped?" The coroner nodded. "Their hearts shut down. No struggle. No sign of toxins, at least nothing we have the equipment to detect here. I'll know more back at the lab." Briggs stepped away, jaw tight. 2 guards dead without a mark on them. A third missing, along with the inmate. A transport van abandoned with chains snapped. A corrupted camera. A warning note. And now an escort vehicle forced off the road without leaving any trace of another car. None of it made sense. He walked toward the tree line, scanning the ground. Something glinted beneath a layer of leaves, a small, black rectangle. A phone. He slipped on gloves and picked it up. The case had the initials RK etched into the corner, Rachel Knox, one of the escort officers. The screen was shattered, but the memory card inside was intact. When Briggs pocketed it, his radio crackled. "Detective, we've got movement on the highway. Someone's approaching the scene on foot." Briggs turned. A man in a tan jumpsuit stumbled out of the trees, hands raised, limping heavily. His face was bruised, clothes torn, eyes wide with panic. One of the deputies lifted a rifle. "Identify yourself!" The man collapsed to his knees. "Don't shoot! Please, please don't shoot! I'm not who you think I am!" Briggs stepped forward. "What's your name?" "Lester Vance," the man stammered. "I work at the rest stop off Highway 61. I heard metal screeching and something else. I don't know what I saw." He trembled so badly Briggs had to help him sit. "Tell me exactly what happened." Vance swallowed hard. "I was throwing out the trash, and I saw 2 sets of headlights heading north. The transport van's lights were steady, but the ones behind it..." He shook his head. "They were weaving. Like the second vehicle wasn't driving, it was drifting." "Drifting?" Briggs repeated. "Like someone was steering from outside," Vance whispered. "Then the van swerved. I heard brakes, hard brakes, and then I heard something slam, but not metal. More like..." He hesitated. "More like a door. A heavy one." Briggs felt the hairs on his arms lift. "What happened next?" Vance's voice dropped to a rasp. "Everything went dark. All at once. The headlights. The rest stop lights. Even the billboard. It was like someone shut off the whole highway for a few seconds. And when the lights came back, the van was gone," Vance whispered. "And something was moving in the trees. Big. Fast. I ran. Briggs exchanged glances with his deputies. Vance was terrified, yes. But delusional? He didn't seem like it. And something in his description matched what Briggs had already seen. No skid marks, no debris, no trail. Like entire pieces of the scene were missing. A deputy approached with urgency. "Detective, we finished logging the vehicle damage. The dents on the SUV match impact from both sides at once." Briggs frowned. "Both sides?" "Yes, sir. Like it got hit simultaneously by two different forces, but without paint transfer or tire marks. Nothing mechanical." Before Briggs could respond, another deputy shouted from the ravine. "Detective! You need to see this! We found a body!" Briggs rushed over, expecting one of the missing guards or Darrell King. Instead, the deputy pointed to a figure partially buried under branches and brush. The clothing was shredded, but Briggs recognized the name patch instantly. S. Gordon, the second guard from the transport van. But this one was breathing. Barely. His lips moved, whispering something Briggs had to lean close to hear. They weren't alone, on that road." Briggs stiffened. "Who wasn't alone?" Gordon's eyes snapped open, wild, terrified. His voice cracked. "The inmate, he wasn't the one we were supposed to fear." His chest seized. A struggle for breath. Briggs pressed closer. "What does that mean? Who took the van?" Gordon swallowed hard. "It was the escort." "Detective. The escort wasn't." His voice died mid-sentence. His eyes froze, staring upward as if replaying something horrifying. Briggs exhaled, shaken. Whatever had happened on that road, it wasn't an inmate escape. And it wasn't an accident. It was something orchestrated from inside the transport team itself. Detective Briggs had been on cases that twisted, cases that haunted, even cases that left him sleepless for weeks. But never one that felt like it was turning the ground beneath his feet into something unstable, something engineered. By the time Gordon's body was covered and carried up the ravine, Briggs had already made his decision. They weren't dealing with an inmate escape, a random ambush, or a freak accident. This entire operation, every vehicle, every guard, every route, had been compromised long before the transport ever left the West Feliciana facility. And someone on the inside had planned it. He returned to the command tent set up near the blockade. The air hummed with radio traffic and urgency, search teams combing the forest, units sweeping the highway, drones scanning rooftops. But the forest was too quiet, as if whoever had taken Darrell King and the missing guard already knew the search patterns before the search even began. Briggs placed Officer Rachel Knox's recovered memory card into a laptop. The techs gathered around him as the footage loaded. Static. Broken frames. Distorted sound. Then, a clear shot. Rachel Knox sat behind the wheel of the escort SUV. Her partner beside her. She was talking, but there was no audio. The video timestamp was from 10 minutes before the crash. Then the SUV jerked. Both officers stiffened with alarm. Knox looked into the side mirror, eyes widening. Her partner shouted something. Knox reached for the radio. The camera cut out. Briggs leaned back as the tech scrubbed the footage. There's a 3-second gap right before the feed dies. Almost like someone deliberately clipped it. Briggs stared at the screen. Try enhancing the mirror's reflection. The tech zoomed, sharpening pixels. The mirrors slowly revealed a second vehicle behind the SUV, not the transport van. Something bulkier. Dark. Unmarked. No plates. No logos. Just a silhouette sliding through the fog like a predator. Briggs felt the pieces align in a way he didn't like. The escort team had been followed. Not chased, followed. And not by amateurs. Pull up personnel files from the transport unit, Briggs ordered. I want every guard and every officer who had access to the route plan. A deputy hurried over with a tablet. Detective, you need to see this. One of the escort officers on the schedule wasn't actually present today. But someone used his login credentials to sign off the paperwork. Briggs scrolled through the data. The missing name was obvious. Officer Daniel Hale. Reputation clean. Record spotless. Disciplinary issues 0. 2 spotless. Briggs exhaled sharply. He never showed up, but someone used his identity. That means someone inside the department orchestrated this. Someone with access to schedules and clearance codes. Sir, a deputy added. Hale resigned 3 weeks ago. Quietly. No forwarding address. Briggs felt a weight settle across his shoulders. He was the escort. The message in the boot echoed in his mind. Don't trust the escort. Before he could speak, another deputy sprinted into the tent, breathless. Detective, dispatch just picked up heat signatures on the north side of the forest. 2 figures moving fast. Briggs didn't wait for backup. He grabbed a flashlight, radioed 2 deputies, and ran into the trees. Branches scraped his coat. Mud coated his boots. The forest swallowed sound, each step muffled. Then, the flashlight beam cut across footprints. Fresh. Heavy. One set larger than the other. A guard and an inmate? Or something else? He followed the trail until the trees parted into a clearing where an abandoned maintenance shed leaned sideways, eaten by rust. A dim glow flickered inside. Briggs approached slowly. Voices. A man breathing hard. A second voice, low, steady. Briggs signaled the deputies to flank the door. He counted silently, 3, 2, 1, then kicked it open. The flashlight beam hit 2 figures. Darrell King, shackled to a chair, dazed but alive. And the missing guard, Officer Miguel Torres, standing behind him, gun lowered, hands raised the moment Briggs entered. But Torres didn't look afraid. He looked relieved. Detective, he said, voice shaking. Thank God you're here. Briggs steadied his aim. Step away from him. Now. Torres obeyed. Slowly. Carefully. King swallowed. Detective, he saved my life. Briggs blinked. What? Torres lowered his eyes. This wasn't an escape. This was a retrieval. Someone wanted King dead before he reached Angola. Briggs narrowed his gaze. Why? Torres pointed to the inmate. Tell him. King took a breath, eyes darting. I wasn't being transferred for my sentence. They were moving me because I saw something inside West Feliciana. Something I wasn't supposed to see. Briggs stepped closer. What did you see? King's voice cracked. A list. A real list. Names of officers, judges, deputies, people on payroll with an outside group. Moving contraband. Fixing transfers. Silencing inmates. Hale was part of it. He wasn't escorting us. He was intercepting us. Briggs felt the ground shift beneath him. This wasn't a mystery about a van. This was a conspiracy buried inside the justice system itself. Torres nodded. They killed the officers who figured it out. They tried to kill me. And they were going to make sure King never spoke. Briggs lowered his weapon slowly. Where is Hale now? Torres exhaled. He's closer than you think. A twig snapped behind Briggs. He spun. But the figure in the doorway was already gone, disappearing into the trees like a ghost with boots. Daniel Hale. Alive. Watching. Listening. The forest swallowed him whole. Briggs raised his radio. All units, lock down every exit. Hale is on foot. He's armed. And he's been 2 steps ahead since this started. Silence answered. Then a single transmission came through, Hale's voice, calm, measured. Detective Briggs. You found your prisoner. Good. But this isn't over. You're looking in the wrong direction. Briggs froze. This was never about the inmate. Hale continued. It was about who gave the order. And they're standing a lot closer to you than you realize. Static. Then silence. Briggs stared into the dark trees. Because he knew Hale wasn't lying. Not entirely. He had just declared war from inside their own system. And whoever had given that order was still out there. Still watching. Still waiting. If you thought this case was intense, Briggs whispered, you're not ready for what comes next, so you might want to subscribe.